I have an exceptional life. I've done amazing things, met incredible people, traveled the world, and created some memories that are epic and will last me until the day that I die. But if you were to ask me now if I've succeeded, if I'm successful, to this point, I'd have to say no. But I'm a what? And what I mean by that is when someone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would always answer with a job. I am what I do, and that makes sense to me. My very definition of success is tied to a job, and I won't truly feel successful until that job is mine. Unknowingly, a few years ago, a friend of mine changed my life. We were sitting and having a chat about a completely unrelated topic, and he was fantasizing about his dream job. Since I've known the guy, he's wanted to be an astronaut. So he was talking about walking on Mars, and when he mentioned to me a job he thought was equally unattainable, he stated how I clearly wasn't qualified for it. Now keep in mind, this is one of my best friends, very good friend. But what he didn't know is that in doing that, he erected the most momentous speed bump on the straight and narrow path that was my life. Because you see, I'd had my fun, and I'd resigned myself to buckling down, getting an education, filing quietly into a job, because that's just what people do. So when he said that, I had a moment of, I could do that. And then I had a real moment of, wait, I could do that. And from that moment on, there was a metaphorical Everest blocking the way on my straight and narrow. I never knew how badly I wanted to climb that mountain until the job at the top was an option. And not only did I want to climb it, I wanted to climb it better and faster and on a different route and with less oxygen than anyone who had ever climbed it before. And when I got to the top, I wanted to turn back to people still on their climb and say to them, look what I've done. You can do this too. Then turn back around and let the peak on which I stood become the second highest peak and look to a new Everest and a new level of personal success. But as I said, I'm a what? And this isn't everyone's idea of success. To understand where I'm going with this, I think it helps to understand where I'm coming from, where this idea started. I haven't always been a what. About 4 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting the most seriously frustrating person I've ever met in my life, my boyfriend, Casey. He drove me nuts. He was in school, in university, nearly done his degree, wicked smart, and had the entire world in front of him. And yet when I asked him what was next for him, he would give me one of these. This aggravated me to no end, because I knew where my life was going. I knew that when I was done my undergrad degree, I was going to go into graduate school so I could get a job that I wanted really, really bad. But him just didn't know. And worse, instead of him seeking to find that thing, that path, that mountaintop, he would say to me, he just wanted to be happy. Like, seriously, what is that? So we battled it out. Him getting frustrated with me getting frustrated with him, and butting heads until we realized we were just different in our pursuits of success. And that was okay. Though for a long time, I thought he was the only one. Just my luck, right? I find this amazing guy, but he is literally the only person in the world that will do any job, provided it brings him happiness. Then I met Nikita, a dreadlock-wearing, honeybee-raising flower child that would do her gardening and be happiest when she was doing what she loved. Then I met Ty, a tall, quiet man who wanted to be a writer, even knowing full well, unless he was writing about teenage vampire love triangles, it would probably lead him to, yes, poverty, but also happiness. So it was then that I noticed a pattern. Not everyone is a what. People like Ty, Nikita, Casey, these people are whos. When you ask a who what they want to be when they grow up, they'll tell you they just want to be happy. So now you're saying to me, this sounds a lot like being introverted and being extroverted. Maybe you even know the statistic that about half of the people in the Western world qualify themselves one way or the other. But this is beyond that. Now you're saying, okay, Carey, well, this is motivation. Internal and external motivation. But this is something that comes from the core of who you are and is shaped by your experiences and your upbringing, but is ultimately the product of who or what you are. And you may not be a who or a what completely. I would argue that everyone exists on a spectrum and has elements of these two types. But depending on the situation, we put more value on the traits of one or the other that will bring us to our idea of success at the time. And it's funny, because we can perceive someone one way and be totally and completely wrong. Imagine someone who wins an Oscar, runs a multi-billion-dollar company. Likely you think that person is a what, but that person could be a who. And doing these things, business, acting, they just make them happy. And now think of someone who works behind the scenes. Likely you think that person is a who, but that person could be a what, and what that person is doing is at the peak of their personal Everest. Now it's not that a what never feels happy, but a what can push down those feelings of happiness in order to attain the addictive rush that is achieving their mountaintop. They long to stand at Titan atop the Everest that they've created, and it's the next thing, the next pursuit, the next mountaintop. The what view their life as an ever-growing crescendo that will never quite reach its peak because they will never quite be satisfied until they rule the realm in which their idea of success lies. And it's not that a who never needs to strive to the mountaintop, but a who can give up that relentless pursuit of the peak if they find happiness along the climb. The what view their life as a pursuit of moments, events, people, from which they gain a sense of self and love and exuberance. So by now you've started to fit yourself somewhere along this line. You're categorizing the traits that you can, and you're labeling yourself accordingly. But before you do that, think about this. I would argue, to truly be a success in today's world, if the who in you and the what in you came together, and you managed to capture the essence of each, you would be a force to be reckoned with. In the middle of this line, there exists a magic place, and it's the overlap of the who and the what. And I call this place a hoot. Somewhere my mom is laughing really hard at that. Trust me, this is just as fun as it sounds. I would argue, in life, in business, in success, there's a place for the hoot, the person that relentlessly pursues happiness. And so maybe that's not a possibility for everyone. Maybe you exist so far over here on the who scale that you know you could never make it to a what. Then I propose in life, business, success, there's a place for an epic partnership where the who in you nurtures and excites the who in me. And the what in me nurtures and excites the what in you. See, both of these two types are crippled by drawbacks that the other can help them overcome. The worst thing for a what is the fear of failure, holding them back from trying. Once you've started on that climb, it's a long way for you to fall back down, but it adds to the rush of getting to the top. The who is afraid of settling for something that they're amazing at, but they hate. Imagine a who believing that being a doctor would make them happy. So they put in all that time and effort and resources and got all the way there, only to realize they hated it, and they were stuck. So I say we aim to partner with the opposite side of this line and let the hoot in all of us come out. Let's strive for greatness while allowing ourselves to enjoy the journey. Let's do what we love and gain the rush of achieving it. And above all, let's promote a little tolerance for the people around us who represent the opposite side of this line. Don't get frustrated when someone doesn't know what they want to be when they grow up. Instead, ask them who they want to be or what will make them happy. Let the what fail 1,000,000 times. Because if they don't try for that mountaintop and they settle for something less, they will never be satisfied. there's a dream job available for me now. It happens to be that one my friend joked about a few years ago. The problem? It's in another country, and it's a huge risk for me to go. I'm afraid to fail, so afraid that I don't want to try. I'm scared, I'm excited, and I want to go, but only if I know that I'll succeed in the what terms. Luckily for me, there's a who in my life that says, let's try, because no matter what, we're going to enjoy the journey. So I will go, and I'll let the fear that exists in the what of me be replaced with knowing that regardless of how this turns out, there will always be another peak, and I can at least enjoy the journey. So now I turn this back to you, and I encourage you to do the same. If you're a what and you're contemplating something major, and you're at the tipping point of not even trying because you're afraid to fail, find a who. That person will encourage you, and they will make it okay if you don't quite make it to the mountaintop. If you're a who, and you don't know what is going to make you happy, find a what. They will push you around to your own personal mountaintop, and likely there, or on the journey, you'll find happiness. Strive to find the hoot in yourself and the hoot in your partnerships. And if you can do that, you can succeed on your own terms while embracing who and what you are. Thank you.